Yes, we are back. This is episode 151 of The Next Best Bet. I'm Jake Higgins with Brett Levy as always, and I apologize for the hiatus. I was traveling, was not able to edit some podcast episodes, so we went on a little intermission. And Brett, it was about time that we took a mid-season break, took it with the MLB in their All-Star break as well, but we also missed quite the events. I mean, the UFC, we had Conor McGregor fighting, we had a show with the Home Run Derby and the All-Star Games, and then we have just had some fantastic golf this past weekend with the Open as well. What have you been up to in these past few weeks?
Well, Higgins, like you said, we took a well-deserved break, I think. We've been going for over a year straight, so we needed a little breather there. But yeah, definitely been watching the NBA playoffs, Higgins. They've been good. Been watching my Mets falter to the Pirates over the last 7 games. They had a really tough time, but we finally get to play someone else in the coming week, so hopefully we can get past that as New York Mets fans. And then, yeah, you mentioned the UFC fights have been fun. The basketball tournament has started up. You and I will have some rooting interest there with Boeheim's Army. So sports are rolling, Higgins.
Yes, the sports absolutely are rolling. We also did give out some picks on our social media at NBB Pod on Twitter, at Next Best Bet on Instagram, and the Next Best Bet Facebook page and YouTube channel, along with our own social media pages. We've been talking plenty about the sports that have been going on. Let's jump into a quick hindsight with Higgins, Brett. Look at how we did in the last episode we had. It was ugly, so we're not going to stay here for long. My only wins were a Clippers moneyline win in an Athletics Astros parlay. This is from back in June, though, so this is nothing recent. Obviously, the Clippers haven't been playing for a while. And then I also had my Knights championship game. That one fell off. My championship win fall off. Then Vegas lost outright. Indians Twins over did not hit, and a UFC fight that didn't go the distance between Cyril Gane and Alexander Volkov. So wasn't going our way. We took a good break. I think we've recalibrated. I'm ready to hit the ground running.
All right, yeah, Higgins. You said you need to recalibrate. Boy, do I need to recalibrate. Another O for week for me. That's tough to see. You do not like that, Higgins. Uh, Red Sox lost whatever game that was. I parlayed the Twins and Astros on that night as well. It was not good. And I picked the Suns in one of the games they lost in the playoffs. So, on fire, as you would say, Higgins.
Overall, though, in 2021, we still are doing rather strong, Brett. We are both having winning records. I am up 4.99 units on the year. A 130, 152, and 6 record, but you can do that when you pick a lot of underdogs and plus money favorites, things like that, or plus money dogs, things like that. And you also look at how many different sports categories we have bet on, Brett. We've bet on 10 different things. At least I've bet on 10 different categories. And then you're also in the positive. You're up 1.73 units on the season, 86, 90, and 1. And you've also bet on 9 different sports. So we spread our bets out here at the Next Best Bet, right?
Yeah, we give out a fair share. We take them a few days in advance. Sometimes information can change, but it's all good, Higgins. We have fun and we bet responsibly.
Absolutely. Speaking of betting responsibly, let's get into Beginner's Boulevard. We're going to talk about the term exposure, and this is when you can see some interesting line movement where this analysis of the game, the line may not make sense, but it may have moved to this number because a sportsbook had too much exposure, so they are protecting themselves and moving it the other way to get some bets on the other side. And that's the amount of money a sportsbook stands to lose on any given wager is the exposure. And the sportsbooks actually don't like to gamble, Brett. They like to keep that exposure as small as possible.
Yeah, the idea of these lines is not to give you like what the expected outcome is, Higgins. It's to create a number where the same amount of people are betting on both sides, and then they get to keep, that's minus 110, Higgins. So they get to keep that 10 cents.
Yeah, that vig adds up when you talk about an entire sports book taking in millions of dollars of bets potentially. And Beginners Boulevard, take a look through that playlist on our YouTube channel, by the way, if you haven't and you need to know a little bit more about the sports betting glossary that there is in terms of terms going through sports betting. Let's jump into the MLB, Brett. I talked about how we had the All-Star break, so there is some mid-season breaks going on right now. It's right before the trade deadline, although we did see the Braves already make a move for Jock Peterson. Have you found any mid-season value before a lot of these trades go off? Because personally, I believe this is going to be a rather trade-heavy trade deadline, and I'm kind of just lurking right now trying to find where there might be value.
Yeah, Higgins, I think you raised some really good points there. And I think maybe one spot I'd look is the AL East. The Rays currently plus 155, Blue Jays plus 800, Yankees plus 1,000. They've struggled, but they're certainly a team that's always in it at the deadline. And Boston, who surprised a lot of people this year, get Chris Sale back, hopefully, and they're at minus 115. But I think you could look at the Blue Jays and the Rays realistically and say these are teams. The Rays obviously added calling up Wander Franco and Bruhal, and then the Blue Jays can add at the deadline. Maybe they get Springer healthy in the second half, so they could theoretically add pieces to their lineup as well. I think the AL East could be wide open in the second half, at least between three teams. If the Yankees figure it out, you could have four teams fighting it out.
I think the AL East is very interesting. The other league, the NL East, is very interesting as well with the Mets in the favor, but they're only 2 games ahead of the Phillies, 4 ahead of the Braves, who, like I said, just made a move for Jock Peterson. I would be surprised if some other NL teams are buyers like that. And then you look at the NL West, Brett, where the San Francisco Giants, they're the favorites in the NL West right now. They're ahead. Actually, sorry, they're not the favorites. They're leading the NL West, but they are not the favorites. That would still be the Los Angeles Dodgers at minus 300 over here in Oregon, Brett. San Francisco is plus 400. So if you have some faith that the Giants might continue what they've done this season and continue to surprise that entire coast, then maybe back that. But there's also the Padres who have been lurking, had some injuries. I don't know if the pitching's quite there to win them the NL West, but I think this is giving the Dodgers a lot more credit. I know that they finally won the World Series, and they have for quite some time had this NL West under lock and key, it seems. But it's time you look at these Giants and Padres. I think there might be some potential value and might be some potential moves going on with either of these teams as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to bet against the Dodgers, unfortunately, Higgins, because just like the New York Yankees, they're a team that can always add and add and add. And so, I mean, yeah, I think you're getting good value on the Giants, who uh, are currently leading the division, like you said, Higgins, but you got to be careful because a lot more can go wrong for the Giants than more likely going wrong for the Dodgers, right? Like, it's more likely to turn. Kevin Gossman's been unbelievable on his 1 year deal, pitched well above his baseball card this year. It's much more likely, he turns back into his league average self, which is fine. Like, he's still outperformed his 1 year deal in San Francisco. People are talking about him in borderline in the Cy Young race right now. If the DeGrom injury holds up, maybe he really gets into it.
Well,
So I
wait,
can play
let's
both
actually talk about
sides.
that real quick, Brett, because it's interesting. If you look at the futures in terms of the MVP or the Cy Young right now, you can only look at it for the AL because DeGrom going on to the 10-day injury list on Sunday has bookmakers, it seems, a little bit scared. Just a little bit.
Yeah, I understand why. I mean, this dude is the best player not named Shohei Ohtani in Major League Baseball this year. So he was a heavy favorite in some of these markets. They definitely need to adjust.
Absolutely. Let's jump into our games that are happening on Monday, Brett. We have plenty, including a doubleheader, and I want to talk about game one of that doubleheader. It's going to be the Twins versus the White Sox, a 7 inning game, which includes Lance Lynn could easily go the full seven, and I'm actually going to be taking the White Sox -1.5 at +110 here because as long as the projected pitchers are correct, he's going to be facing off against Griffin Jacks, who has an ERA of 8.66 going into this game, Brett. He's facing off against the AL leader in terms of ERA with a 1.99. I have faith that Lance Lynn can continue that for a 7 inning game. He might be able to go the full stretch and not have to even go into the bullpen. And then that leaves the White Sox to just have to score 3-4 runs, and I'm good with covering that potentially.
Yeah, I think it's definitely possible that the White Sox cover 1.5. I don't really bet baseball run lines, Higgins. You won't really see me on there, but yeah, Minnesota's been a disappointing team. I think they'll be sellers here towards the end of the month, so I would be probably fading Minnesota from here on out. The run line's a little steep for me, but that's your thing, Higgins. You love these plus money payouts. And again, -185 on the money line for the White Sox. That's probably too steep for me, also. So I understand why you're looking around trying to find a way to bet it.
Yeah, and I'm also looking at another game that involves a doubleheader, but it's a fact that a doubleheader happened on Sunday, Brett. The Toronto Blue Jays went 2 for 2 on their doubleheader, played very well, but now they have to host the Boston Red Sox, who are going to be leaving the Bronx, and it looks like they're going to potentially be leaving the Bronx with their tails between their legs on Sunday night. At least when we started this podcast, the Yankees were up 5-0. So unless something happens late in this game and Boston rallies, who knows? I mean, it's baseball, but I expect Red Sox to respond to their normal averaging of about 4 or 5 runs a game. We know that Toronto's easily capable of that as well, and the over/under being set at a 10.5, I'm going to be taking that.
Fair enough. I think Pavetta and Stripling are guys that can certainly give up some runs. These are not the aces going for these teams. So I like these lineups. The pitching certainly, leaves a little to be desired. So yeah, it makes sense that this run line is a little high. 10.5 is high, especially for a non-cores game, Higgins. But it's currently being played in Buffalo. Although at the end of the month we may have to start adjusting because they're going back to Canada, Higgins. The Blue Jays have finally struck a deal where they'll be heading back to Canada.
Yes, and it'll be very interesting to see how bookmakers strategize that change of a Toronto team fully going back and actually having those home games once again, Brett. And I like both of those early picks, and I have another one a little bit later, Brett, but let's talk about yours over in the NL, which is a battle between the two coasts.
Yeah, so I've got two in the NL, Higgins. I've got the Cubs Cardinals, which is the ESPN game on Monday night, so everyone can watch that one. And I'm taking the over 9 at +100, so even payout, Higgins. I like that value. I don't know much about Jake Woodford, but Alec Mills has been less than stellar this year, with all due respect. We know that the Cubs are sellers. Like I said, I don't know much about Woodford, but Chris Bryant trying to boost his trade value, Rizzo trying to boost his trade value, maybe Javi Baez as well, Pat Wisdom, all these guys. Jake Woodford is probably the guy you want on the mound.
Okay, Cubs Cardinals game, and you're taking the over with some good value at some +100 too.
Yeah, the even payout is something I definitely like, Higgins. And the other game I'm on, Padres versus Braves. I'm gonna be on San Diego on the money line here. They're -130. My line where it's too big for me, Higgins, is probably like right around that -150 number. I don't know if I'll go there.
Hmm.
but minus 130, well within my range. Yu Darvish on the mound for the Padres. Some guy named Muller is the probable starter for the Braves, although here in New Jersey, this game is not yet listed, Higgins. So I'm going
This is
over to
according to
Oregon.
ESPN. This
Oh,
is
okay.
according to ESPN.
Gotcha.
Kyle
Yes.
Miller only has 15 innings, though. Doesn't seem like he's been depended on pretty hard by Atlanta, but they've been hit by the injury bug. They've been hit by it pretty hard. And the Padres, on their away run that they've gone, they were just in Washington over the weekend. They started off red hot. One of their games, they had over 20 runs.
Yeah, so definitely all in on the Padres and Darvish here. I think they have the better starter. I think the Braves lineup without Acuna leaves a little to be desired, Higgins.
I agree. I agree, and I think we got to see some things from the Braves before at least I bet on them here in the second half without Acuna. A game that I'll also be looking at, Brett, is going to be the Texas Rangers versus the Detroit Tigers, and surprisingly, the Tigers this year are playing for more in the second half than the Rangers are. It seems the Rangers, a losing record, might be sellers if they have anything to really sell. The Tigers, they're 43-51. They're not sitting terribly outside of their division, but they're not really going to catch the White Sox, so we'll see what they try to do. But Casey Mize, one of their young guns, is on the mound, and I'm going to be backing him plus 100 on the money line at home. He's facing off against a solid contender, Kyle Gibson, who's 6-1 on the year with an ERA of a 2.29. But Detroit's young. They've been having fun. Those bats have been swinging pretty well. And one thing I know is you can't depend on this Rangers team this year, especially on the road when they're 13-33.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but Gibson's not the pitcher I would definitely fade on Texas. So I just gotta take. No, I'm not actually gonna bet this Higgins, but I just gotta play devil's advocate and
Mm-hmm.
be like, I don't really love this bet. In all honesty, I would probably look at a way maybe to bet the over or bet the under. Excuse me, not the over. Bet the under if you
Set at
believe
eight and
in
a half.
Case. Yeah, if you believe in Casey Mize, Gibson's been good this year, and if your reasoning for backing Mize would be that the Rangers have struggled to hit the ball, which is true. They've been no hit twice this season, Higgins. So it's definitely possible they'll struggle to make contact, but I'm not backing this Tigers lineup at any point the second half this season. This team is, if anything, playing for the number one pick, and they are full rebuild, Higgins.
And the Tigers have won three straight, as opposed to the Twins that have lost about six straight. And I can't take either side of the over under because literally both of these teams in the past 10 games, they're 5-5. It's a literal coin toss. So 8.5. It's a low number. I get it with Gibson and Mize on the mound. I'm gonna just back the young guy Casey Mize. He's playing for something.
All right, fair enough. Like I said, I'm not betting it. I'm not trying to talk you off of it. I'm just giving the other side.
I get you. I get
Just
you.
being honest, right? Want to give you my
I
honest
appreciate it.
take.
I appreciate it.
But I'm on an AL game before we get to the late night game, Higgins. Angels at Athletics. Shohei Otani on the mound for the Angels. I think everyone's going to be betting that one. I'm going to bet it probably tomorrow at some point, Higgins. But for the show right now, Oakland plus 105 in Oregon. They've got Cole Irvin on the mound. He's been solid this year. Nothing special, but solid. A league average pitcher. So I will take Oakland plus 105. Basically, Higgins, this is my fade the public type of pick here. Everyone's going to see Otani in the mound. Everyone's going to back the Angels. Angels have been good this year. They're still over 500. Bit of a surprise with Trout out and Rendon out. But the Athletics been a little bit better.
Trout's still on that IL. Looks like he's gearing up for a rehab assignment soon, but he hasn't started any type of rehab assignment as far as I've seen. So it looks like it'll still be a few weeks. I laid off of this line at least as of tonight, Brett, because I can't look at player props this far out, and if I'm gonna bet on it, I want to bet on some Otani player props potentially, whether it's the over or the under in his strikeouts. I also want to know, is he gonna be listed in the lineup? Because the Angels have done that before with him as a pitcher and let the other AL team use their DH. It was the first time ever in the American League history. I want to know, are they going to start having Otani stay in the lineup and maybe try to work him into a right field situation or something like that? Because that they've done that already this season, and they're trying to figure out interesting ways of using Otani when he's pitching also as a batter. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, we'll have to keep our eye on that. I recognize he is extremely talented, Higgins. I just think this is a situation we talked about exposure. People are going to want to bet the Angels tomorrow night. They're going to find their reasons to bet the Angels. I'm going to take the other side. I'm going to take the Buck side and try and beat them that way.
Hey, there's probably tons of value to be had against Otani whenever he's on the mound for the rest of this season, I would imagine. One more baseball game, though, before we jump out of this category, though, Brett, is going to be the Giants Dodgers. At the end of the night on Monday, we're going to have a Western Conference showdown between the Giants and the Dodgers. And while I don't have this line out yet, I'm going to be taking the Dodgers minus 1.5 and the over 8.5. You kind of hinted at part of the reason, Brett. Kevin Gossman has pitched fantastic, well above expectations so far this season. And to be honest, I don't know how much longer he can do it. And with the Dodgers only one game back heading into this series, I know that they're going to be licking their chops to be leaving this with a lead in their division. So I think they come out hot. Tony Gonsolin, who did not get to pitch a ton before the All-Star break because of injury, has come back and performed rather well over his 25 innings pitched so far. So I'm going to be trying to take the minus 1.5 and the over 8.5 because I do believe these lineups are just too big enough that they're going to be creating runs, and 8.5 is just too small.
All right. I'll have to see what that line comes out at and see where you get it, Higgins. It'll be fun to keep our eye on tomorrow during the day.
Absolutely. I'll make sure to tweet it out, and so make sure to follow us on Twitter at NBBPod. But Brett, let's jump into some moneyline magic, and there was a basketball game unlike any other, and I don't know, did you see it? I got zapped into my phone.
Quick spoiler, everyone. We're going to talk about Space Jam, so skip ahead if you don't want to hear it. But we had to talk about the greatest comeback I've ever seen, Higgins. Absolutely zapped into the phone, and LeBron saves the human universe.
Yes, he does, and just like in the original Space Jam, at halftime, they were defeated. They were down by a monstrous amount. In this case, by over 1,000 points. But of course, you get style points in Doomball, or is that what it was called?
Dom Ball, named
Domball.
after
Domball,
Dom, the
yes.
sun. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, a lot of excitement, Higgins. Again, it's made for the kids. It's not made for you and I or the parents or the LeBron or MJ fans, right? It's made for the kids. If the kids like it, it's a win. It was clearly a office hit. Higgins outdoing the Black Widow movie, the Marvel movie. So big win for LeBron on the court. Big win for LeBron's bank account off the court. And whatever. It was a fun 2 hours.
I even heard rumors that there's pursuits of buying his movie production company that he created just for this film. So they came out with one film and now might be in pursuits of selling. I think I saw like $750 million or something crazy like that. It's just a ludicrous success, it seems. It worked just as well for this generation as I think the MJ version worked for our generation, Brett. And I don't know, if as long as you go into it knowing what you should be expecting in terms of jokes and everything, I thought it was pretty good. And LeBron, He did lean into some of the jokes a little bit more than I expected, to be honest.
I definitely enjoyed some of the LeBron jokes, some of the NBA jokes, just basketball jokes in general. So it was all good, Higgins. All good. Congrats to LeBron on a big movie success.
What would your power up be in a basketball game?
Ooh, my power up. Hopefully, I get taller. That would be nice.
That would be nice too. I could use some extra hops. I could use some extra hops for sure. Maybe my own individual button like that on the floor that I could
Oh, there
find.
you go. That would be nice.
But let's jump into some real basketball, Brett, because we have had quite a while since we've talked about basketball. So we are into the NBA Finals, Game 6 to be exact. And for the first time in this series, we had a road victor with the Milwaukee Bucks in Game 5, beating the Phoenix Suns, taking a 3-2 lead in this series. After starting it down 0-2, what a comeback, Brett. Do the Suns still have a chance?
Yeah, Higgins, I think they do. And actually, one of the lines I saw, was the series correct score, and Suns to win the series 4-3 at plus 330. I think that's true, more true of a 50-50 shot, Higgins, because they'll be home in Game 7. And I don't think this is ending in 6. I think this one's going to that 7th game. And then who's going to show up? Is it going to be Giannis? Is it going to be Chris Paul? Is it going to be Booker, Middleton? That's what we're all going to tune in for. So to get it plus 330, because I don't think I'll get the Suns plus 330 on the money line in Game 7, I'll just take it now.
I've been tweeting about it this entire series, but I thought this series was going to go to 7 out the gate, to be honest. I thought there have been some interesting adjustments. I thought it was going to go the 2-2 and then the 2-2 like it did, especially once the Suns went up 2-2. I thought Milwaukee was going to respond in suit. I was kind of surprised that Milwaukee, though, did get the win in Game 5. I thought it was going to be Suns win Game 5, Bucks win Game 6, Bucks wins Game 7, so the last game was going to be the only game won by a road team. Now that the Bucks won in Game 5, I think that it's still going to Game 7, though. I think the Suns are going to win, so if you look at this line for Game 6, Brett, the Bucks are favorites by 5 points, even though they're at home, minus 105. So it looks like it could be even moving a little further than that. And money line, I like the Suns at plus 170. To be honest, I really do. And I have honestly bet the under in every single one of these games so far, Brett, and it has done me very well. So I'm going to continue that trend, taking under 222. But I think the big big key to this game is going to be the resurgence of DeAndre Ayton's confidence down in the paint against Giannis. Because you look at how Giannis took over after Game 2, from Game 3 through Game 5, so much of his scoring is down in that paint, where DeAndre Ayton literally played so well and surprised everyone in Games 1 and 2. I think he needs to be part of that conversation again, needs to come on down, fight for those defensive rebounds and those Bucks possessions after the first shot. And if he could do that, I think the Suns will be able to force a Game 7. So plus 170, I really like that value. And if he can limit the Bucks' chances on the boards, I think under 222 is also going to hit as well. So I think this all comes down to DeAndre Ayton for me.
Yeah, and then I see you also, obviously you mentioned a few times you think the Bucks win Game 7 as well. You're just hammering that home right now, Higgins. I see you on the plus 525 payout.
Yes, for the series correct score, just like you have a half unit on the Suns winning 4-3, I have a full unit going on the Bucks to win 4-3 because I've just had a feeling the Bucks are going to win in 7 to be. Since the beginning, I think this is Giannis's turn to win an NBA Finals, and I think he's going to get it this time. That being said, I think that's why he's minus 400 in the Finals MVP odds as well, because you can't really give it to anyone else on that Bucks team.
No, Giannis has been incredible. Middleton's been great, but I think it's Giannis's to lose. And yeah, I mean, I think this series is going 7. Higgins. I'm taking this opportunity to take Phoenix, and We'll see what happens, but uh, yeah, I think, like you said, I guess I would lean Phoenix on the money line. You're full on diving in, and then I'm basically hedging out for the next game, saying, "Oh, I'm not gonna get this line again in Game 7, and it's a 50-50 shot. I'll take Chris Paul, the multi-time All Star, the first team All NBA player multiple times, one of the career all time leaders in steals and assists and all this stuff. So, just a true pro. I love Giannis Antetokounmpo. I've been a big Giannis believer forever. I'd be super excited for him too. But, I got to put my money somewhere, Higgins.
And in terms of the Finals MVP odds, Brett, since you have the Suns winning 4-3, if you are right and the Suns go and win back to back, do you think that Finals MVP comes down to whoever comes out and is the big name in these next two games? Because it has Booker and Paul at plus 650, dead even right now in terms of if the Suns win, who's going to be the Finals MVP.
Yeah, I think a lot of the finals MVP, if truth be told, right, if it comes down to a game 7 and Chris Middleton has 60 points in game 7, like why wouldn't he win? And I'm not saying that's the most likely outcome, but I'm just saying it's an outcome, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's
So
that's why he's still listed there too. Yeah.
right. I just think realistically this is gonna come down to who's the primetime player, the guy that wins game 7 and wins the series. Whoever that is on either side would probably take home the MVPs. And it's really, it's tough to get a feel for that. How are you going to get a feel for that at this point? I remember when we logged on prior to the series tipping off, Chris Paul was a heavy favorite. Then Booker went off in game 2, I believe it was. He had like the 40-point night. He becomes the heavy favorite. Giannis wins 2 games, 3 games in a row now. Now he's the heavy favorite. This thing rotates like a revolving door, Higgins, and it doesn't stop.
What if Cameron Payne comes out and plays like he did in that series against the Clippers, even where all of a sudden everyone's talking about him because he's putting up a 30 piece in the first time ever in his NBA career? I mean, you're right. If this goes game 7, it could just come down to who's the MVP of that game. It could be very interesting. And in that case, I want Iguodala.
Iguodala.
Iguodala. Absolutely every time. Brett, before we get out of here, let's go to the Levy Lock pick of the pod. I don't know whose turn it is in terms of honors. I do know that you have a lead over me. You are 24 and 22 on the year. I'm 21, 24 and 1. So go ahead, give out your lock.
All right, Higgins. It's Iguodala with the game on the line. No. I'm going to take the Padres, you Darvish on the mound versus Mueller. I like the advantage on the mound. I like the advantage with the lineups with Noah Cunha for the Braves. Obviously, Higgins, we spoke about it a little bit when we were talking about baseball as a whole. The Braves did add Jock Peterson. Maybe they add a few more pieces, but that's not going to help them on Monday night against the Padres with Tatis, Machado, Darvish, Hosmer, Cronenworth. The list goes on and on. It's a tough lineup to beat.
It's a very tough lineup to beat, and with DeGrom out, Tatis could very well become the favorite in the NL MVP conversation, and we'll have to see what he does with that time over the next week or so. I'm going to be sticking in baseball as well, Brett. I'm going with the game 1 of the doubleheader between the Twins and the White Sox. I'm taking the White Sox minus 1.5 at plus 110. And just like I said at the top of this show, it's Lance Lynn who has the best ERA in the American League, facing off against Griffin Jax, who has an ERA of an 8.66. I have confidence in the Chicago Bats. I have confidence in Lance Lynn being able to pitch a full 7 innings and keep true to his 1.99 ERA. And if that's the case, I see no reason why the White Sox don't cover that minus 1.5.
No, I'm with you, Higgins. Makes a lot of sense. Just too big for me to hop on board with you in a 7 inning game, but I think everything you're saying lines up.
Absolutely. Before we jump out of here, make sure to follow us on social media where we'll be giving out some picks in between episodes as well. At NBB Pod on Twitter, at Next Best Bet on Instagram, and the Next Best Bet Facebook page and YouTube channel. If you haven't been following us there, you've missed 3 weeks of content basically because we've given out some picks over the past few weeks. This has been episode 151 of the Next Best Bet. For Brett, I'm Jake. We'll talk to you again on Thursday.